episode 13 of the Reset Button. Welcome on a Friday the 13th. This is a little special. It's a little meta here, guys. I don't think
it's a happy coincidence.
None of us
Great.
none of us were expecting to do this. This was not some sort of fun trick or anything like that. It just complete crazy happenstance.
Yeah.
The best of happenstance. And of course, we did have a different topic in mind, but when your 13th episode lands on Friday the 13th in October, you talk about spooky games. I think at that point it's a law, right?
On that,
The 13th
the
episode too, that adds a whole nother layer that I didn't even think about.
This is insane. I don't even know if this is legal. I'm gonna go ahead and
Probably not.
Oh my god. Before we get into it, we gotta let everybody know who is whose. We go around the table. The first I'm going to introduce to you is someone who is going to fight and rescue us all from Jason Voorhees tomorrow, Mr. Johnny Chase.
Yeah, that's me. So, what's going on right now? I mean, you're probably, after the fact you're watching this on demand, not going to be watching it. But right now, on game days for good, we're playing Friday the 13th, the asymmetrical game, because it's going offline at the end of the year, so we're gonna try and get as many games as we can. Yeah, server's going down, so we're playing that tonight. But I'm doing the NES version of Friday the 13th the next night.
That's a fun game.
I've never actually had a serious attempt at playing it, because every time I would boot it up, I just I'll just dick around this for a little bit. I didn't get very far. Okay, yeah, move on to the next game. But this one, I'm like, all right, let's focus and let's figure out how to beat this game. Do I think I will do it? Probably not, but should be a good time, I hope.
It's actually pretty complex, but at the same time, I've seen somebody blaze through it in games on quick. So it's one of those things where somebody is so talented to be able to do that, yet you feel like a complete idiot because you can't match that talent, even if you wanted to.
They just know how to predict what's gonna happen. Those people that can play those kind of weird and somewhat challenging / impossible games, they just know all the steps and how to proceed. It's like some Mike Matei energy, let's be real.
Well, they say
I'm
checking how long to beat. It's how long to beat is an hour and a half if you know what you're doing. What is the official speed run on this?
I would like to know, because I'm pretty sure the dude at Games on Quick cooked it in 15 minutes or so.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's 15 minutes.
Oh, that's insane.
A glitch run. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's an NES game where you bumblefuck around most of the time because you don't know what's happening. I remember having the manual, and that didn't help all that much. Because it's the pitchfork is around and the torch. Okay, where?
But you know what I love? So speaking of the NES, Friday the 13th, Cody, he really likes that game because of its bullshit, where it's hard and you don't know quite what you're doing, or it's very hard to it's not very intuitive. Let me put it that way. But he's yo, if this was Friday the 13th IRL, you would be panicking and everything would be super stressful. Nothing would work the way it normally works because you are in a panic and a fluster trying to escape. So he's yeah, honestly, it being kind of a janky battled game is to its advantage of being a horror game. So I like the way he phrase that, because that's how I feel a lot about horror games, is the panic, and they're typically not the best quality games. Let me just make that straight. And I'm aware, okay, I will die protecting horror games for the rest of my life, but the fair point of the jank factor makes them a lot more stressful, but in a fun way.
So checking speedrun.com, the fastest time is 2 minutes 51 seconds.
My god.
By PGH Guitar Guy, which I'm sure if I click on this I can pull up but that isn't any percent, so that's probably glitches galore.
It has to be, because that doesn't even account for
0 the 14th, 15 minutes 58 seconds.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense, because you wouldn't even have enough time to gather all the stuff you need to kill Jason. That's wow. The 15 minutes, that sounds way more doable.
Yeah. Oh, there's actually what they call Pamela power-ups. Valiant Link with 4 minutes 30 seconds. I would that's a whole other avenue to talk about on another podcast, is the Rebel speedrunning is oh man, like I wouldn't even fathom to like think about what you have to do like just one game as opposed to like
Ooh.
all these other ones. But yeah,
I want to throw that out there for anybody watching right now too, or if you're watching or listening to this later. If you're someone that does speedruns on games regularly, we'd love to talk to you for that episode. Because I don't think any of us here are speedrunners, and we would love to pick your brain and understand it a bit better.
We want to feel that
Yes.
Mike Matei energy. Come on.
Yeah.
We want to know. Teach us. Embark your wisdom. How do you get that proficient?
I think I need to go the rest of the way around the table because we got sidetracked there. In the best of ways, that's not a bad thing at all.
Oh
but
yeah, we got
to,
derailed.
we need to introduce our queen of horror over here. This is Liz. And I call her the queen of horror because when it comes to horror games, not only she probably played more of them than us, but she's just got like this multi-$100 game just over there chilling. She's not a collector.
Dude, I bought that game when it was like $15 at GameStop. Okay.
Still can't believe it.
And again, once again.
Like I unironically purchased that game because I was very interested and I loved it. I didn't want to return it. I loved it that much.
Yeah.
There are some games that are just like so bad and they're just like a nope, but that was a hard yes.
And I'll go ahead and throw myself in here. I am Patrick, aka Reset Patrick, aka Reset, aka whatever you want to call me, and I have been playing retro horror games for a very long time, but that doesn't mean I am any good at them. The number one game I can think of that I am absolute trash at is the game we were just discussing, Friday the 13th. It is a game I have owned since 8, 9?
Wow.
I have owned that game for a very long time. Have I gotten anywhere near beating it? No. Nowhere close. Because I don't understand. If I were to sit down and watch a lot of YouTube videos of other people finishing it, then I would probably understand it a bit more. But no, I am garbage at that game. I think the very first like horror-based game that I played and was actually decent at, I had a strategy guide to help me a little bit with it, but I found out I was pretty decent at it, was Resident Evil 2.
Yes.
Now, I tore through that game. That one was, it was really good. I played Jill. I don't ever think I did a Leon. Not Jill, but Claire Redfield. I did Claire. I don't think I did a Leon run. But I think Leon, did Leon have more health like
he's
Chris
a
did
little
in the
more
first
challenging.
one?
Like,
Oh,
I feel like I think he's the more challenging route, if I recall correctly. I wasn't like super deep into 2. I've played it a couple of times. But yeah, Leon, I think, is the more aggressive or challenging route. But I know there's like stuff, I think there's like a way to get like the Chicago typewriter or something like weird that you could like set up in the games. Like, it's like, I think there's something you could set up to get like a really good weapon as Leon too. But I'm not that deep into 2 to explain that. So I know there's like something really unique with his playthrough of getting like really juiced up stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
I recall playing the first one and like, so I don't know how to say it to younger people and how you can understand. Johnny would understand because we're about the same age, but everybody else who wasn't around then, how do we explain this to you?
Explain what?
These type of games, like, okay, games weren't scary like that before. The PlayStation era came along and like just threw this like really
dialed it up,
fucking crazy stuff at you. Yeah, the scenes where it's starting to load the next room, like you're walking downstairs and stuff, fucking terrifying if you didn't know the game before. It scared me so bad when I was playing at 11 at night once, I just shut the game off. I was just like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I can't do this. But it was
awesome.
so bad because, like, you see the enemies, and in most games, it's like you shoot the enemies. That's what you're supposed to do. You see them, you fight them. And then did terrible with that game. I wanted to try it again because somebody had a copy of RE2 when it came out, and they let me borrow it, and they let me check out. No, actually, I had the strategy guide already. It was in a GamePro magazine. So I read through GamePro, and they were basically like, why are you fighting everything? It's survival horror. If you don't want to fight the thing, go around it. So I started
You're wasting your resources for like when you really, really need it. Like, do you guys like ever play, let's say that, let me just throw out a game. Like, let's say like oh, we're playing like RPG, like we're playing Final Fantasy, and it's like by the time you finish the game, you are like over maxed out on like the number of Phoenix Downs you have.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I could have used this a million times, but why did I hoard my resources when it's so plentiful available? But with the survival horror games, it's like, oh, bitch, you need to hoard that shit or
Mhm.
else you are screwed. You are not ready. If you have not figured out the right combination, like if you don't know how to tackle a boss or you are so under-equipped, like it's sometimes like a game-breaking thing where you have to start over. It's so bad. And that's
Yeah.
kind of like not fun for people, and I can understand that, but you can't just go run and gun everything.
Yeah. Well, with me in RPG is like it's not the Phoenix Downs I'm hoarding; it's the ethers and the Mickey ethers because
Yeah.
I'm like, is this sold at a shop? This boss is pretty tough. I don't want to use this though because what if I get to a tougher boss and I'm gonna need to use the ether for MP? I'm a hoarder of that there, but yeah. With survival horror, like I didn't really get into it all that much. Like I played maybe a bit of one. Obviously, I'd have to get through like the first little bits of the mansion, all the cool set pieces, like the first zombies, the dog comes through the window, and you're just like, ah.
Yeah.
3 is the one that my brother and I used to try and play a lot, but
Oh.
like I don't think we could get it because like the whole like choose your own adventure, like, oh, what will Jill do? Fight Nemesis or run away? And we're like, I don't know what to do. And
Okay.
I think by the time we got to Carlos there, my brother and I kind of tapped out on it. And we're like,
Okay.
it's not for us. But
Okay.
we
I
do
have some
appreciate it.
gamer shame, like when you're done, Johnny.
I'll die. Go ahead.
Okay, so I don't know, I have this weird relationship with Resident Evil. I hate calling myself like a Resident Evil fan, but I'm a Resident Evil fan. I don't know, I don't feel like I'm so committed to this series, but I'm so deep in it. It's like a weird, like emotional thing that I put on myself. So, okay, but one thing. The only Resident Evil game I haven't like actually beaten is 3 because it scared me too much. Like, even as like a teenager, young adult trying to play this game, it's the only one where I'm like I just
Yeah.
like I can't deal Nemesis. I mean, I love it. I love that I'm too spooked to beat it. And I think I'll do it on remake for sure. Because I have a thing set up where Cody has not played Resident Evil, but 7. He played 7 a couple years ago. Because I was like, do it, and then he did it. He did it like when I was sleeping for work at night, and I had like very bizarre nightmares. But not even nightmares. It was like such a weird, like subconscious moment of my life that whole week that he played it. But I feel like he would, since I've played the originals plenty enough, I think it'd be fun to watch him play the originals and then I do the remakes because I still haven't like fully fleshed out and played those games, like the remake versions at least. So I think I'll like grow up finally and beat 3, is what I'm saying.
Mm.
I think that would be pretty interesting because then they'll show you like all the differences that the
Mhm.
series has made.
And fresh
like,
memory.
You get like
Yeah.
the director's cut of RE1, so you can hear, I hope this isn't Chris's blood. You're almost a Jill sandwich.
The best.
Yeah. But also, like one of the two is one of my favorites is I don't remember what room it was. I don't remember the soundtrack, but one room like the coders put in like the wrong instrument for the MIDI file, and it just sounds so trumpet farty. It's like this. You're supposed to be this big scary moment, and you're just
Very low quality. That's so
Yeah.
funny.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And also another weird, my Resident Evil quirk, I'm like a super fan of the odd numbered games. I don't know why. I just can't explain. The odd number games rock my socks.
1, 3, 5, and 7.
Yeah. I mean, I love 8 though. 8's very different. I might reconsider the statement because 8 was like
8 was really
it like
fucking good.
expanded the game. They expanded the game so much that they hadn't done before, and I loved it. But like 1, 3, 5, and 7, like those games like literally changed my life individually in their own way. So the even number games are that's my
I don't know,
feeling.
man. I love to. I love to. Even like
No,
the
I'm not saying they're
remake
bad. I'm not saying they're
too.
bad. Don't get me wrong. But the ones that speak to my heart. And like I love Resident Evil 5 and so many people hate on that game and I'm like, shut up. It's so fun. Stop.
I 5 is good if you've got someone to play it co-op with you.
I've done both. And
What do
I've
we?
done both plenty of times, and I
Yeah,
fucking love that game.
Woody and I did like a couple years back, went through 5 and 6, and I loved it. And I'm trying to find which other RE games are co-op online. I think maybe it was Revelations 1 or 2.
Maybe.
I don't
Can't remember. We were always looking for stuff like that, and I can't remember which one it was. But I'll tell you, doing RE7 on PS4 with PSVR, like legit scared me. Like walking through that goddamn house and you're thinking nothing's bad, and then the father of the house bursts through the door like fucking Kool-Aid Man, just going like
oh yeah,
or turning the corner and finding one of those sludge monsters, just freak the hell out of me.
I couldn't do it.
Dude, 7 and 8 like really, like 6 was like so sad, and let's not talk about 6. Okay, we're not talking about 6. It's forbidden subject.
Oh, I love 6 just for how ridiculous it is. And
I
plus,
mean,
again, it is better when you play with someone else.
No, of course. I wouldn't
co-op,
disagree with that.
It's great, yeah.
But like 7 and 8, like so revolutionized and refreshed Resident Evil in the best way possible. And this is me, but my preference with a lot of games is I feel a lot more adept and skilled at third-person games. First-person games, I feel like so dumb no matter what it is. Except for like RPGs and like Resident Evil 7 and 8, I just feel like I can hone in and focus. I think it's like a vision thing or like a perception of like my surroundings, which is why I have a preference for third person, which a lot of horror games are typically third person view. But like they shook the formula in the best way possible, and it really pleases me.
Yeah. The only downside I had to doing RE7 in VR is that there's one point where we're in the garage and you have to grab one of the emblems. So like if you played it normally, you grab the emblem and then all of a sudden like buddy grabs you and chucks you down, right? But because I'm playing VR and it has to play it as a cutscene, there's like a flash of black for half a second. I'm like, oh, okay, something's coming after me. I know it now. Like I think I would have enjoyed more of it. It was a little bit immersion breaking because like when the flash of the black comes, okay, I know it's going to be an in-game cutscene that I can't interact that much with. And I was
not
like,
a smooth transition.
No, it was not a smooth transition. So I knew like, okay, something's going to attack me. This isn't going to be as smooth. Like, nope, just grab the thing and move on to the next thing. I was like, where he comes? Oh, and there he was. I like it would have been a lot better if that didn't happen. I understand limits of the technology, but I haven't gone around to 8 yet. No, people said like 8 is really good, but like, man, I just like Capcom. Why do you hate the hand? Why do you hate hands so much?
Oh, like graphically or your hands?
No. The who's the protagonist? Ethan. Why do you hate Ethan's hand so much? Like in the first like 10 minutes of 8, it's like nom.
No. It happens.
Switch?
It happens again. It happens again.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it happens again in the game.
Oh, I know. I haven't played 8, but I've seen a few clips here and there of 8 to know.
Oh my god.
It's just like
And like I love every boss in 8. Like they are so amazing in their own way. I don't know. It just feels like Resident Evil Plus with how expansive it is, and there's so many cool, weird, quirky things that you could do with like how you play the game, and it's so cool. Oh, and all the collectibles are fun, and all the little things you could learn. However, not really like much of a spoiler alert. I think they did wrong with the community that Lady D was the first boss, meaning that she dies first. That's my problem. Where I'm like, bro, she is like everyone's like, okay, Heisenberg's cool, like we like him, he's cool, but why would you put her first in the game? Like we want her to come back and like haunt you and like mess with you. Like she's everyone's favorite mommy. So I feel like that's my major criticism that I did not like.
I was not a fan of it either because I felt it was almost false advertising. Like they were focusing so heavily on Lady D and just with the idea
and it's like, oh, Mother Miranda is like the big boss. Like actually, and it's super cool that like they also have what's her name, the puppet lady? I forgot her name.
Oh,
sorry.
I can't remember.
She's so cool. Like I love that they have like really super diverse and different female antagonists in that game. And they feel super interesting and so unique and different in their own like this game has a really good use of women as villains that doesn't feel insulting.
Now she put it that way.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because you would think at first, like, Lady D is the scariest thing you're going to run into. Like, she is the big bad. It's not going to get worse than her. But over time, oh, it gets worse. Gets worse. Like, I wouldn't say, like, power-wise, the Puppet Lady was more devastating than Lady D, but it does get worse over time.
Scary. That thing was, and the fish guy. Oh, he's so
like,
awesome. Oh, he was so gross. I loved it.
I didn't care for his personality. I thought that sucked. But like his transformation and what he was capable of doing was just like, holy shit, dude, where'd that come from?
It was like vomit inducing, and it made me so happy.
We're just throwing all this at you, Johnny. I'm sorry, but you've got to play.
Okay, Johnny, it's been out long enough. We're not telling you real spoils.
You got to play RE8.
I unfortunately have the 8 has been spoiled. I know the story of 8, so
okay,
yeah, it's fine. I will eventually. It's not going to deter me from playing it. But I will eventually get around to it.
I felt like I left you out of like the last 10 minutes of conversation, Johnny. I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
we had to gush about it
on some other. Yeah, we could hop on some other horror stuff that I've actually played. I do actually want to bring up an interesting thing I just found out because I was curious as to who developed Friday the 13th on NES, because I know it's published by LJN, but a lot of people are thinking like, oh, LJN, they made everything bad. It's like, no, LJN was just a publisher. They weren't the developers. You know who developed Friday the 13th?
Was it fucking Rare or something?
No, Rare did Nightmare on Elm Street. Friday the 13th was developed by Atlas.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
That's really weird.
That's
Persona,
why the game's cool.
Atlas. Yeah.
Huh.
Persona.
Okay, that's not exactly a good thing. But then again, I was just joking when I said Rare and found out that they did Nightmare. Ooh.
That's sick.
Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, they did Nightmare. I'm pretty sure they did Jaws as well. I mean, Jaws not a horror movie, but
the game is so bad. Oh my god, I had that as a kid and it sucked. Okay, sorry.
I'm trying to think what else. I know they did Who Framed Roger Rabbit. They did Rare did a lot of development for a lot of licensed games on the NES, and LJN just produced it. I think they did Beetlejuice as well.
Well, I mean, you also have to consider that back then there really wasn't like a litmus test or, groundwork when it came to making a game. Nobody really knew. Like, there were computer games, there was some Atari games beforehand, but even Atari games was like, try to get the most points. So what do you do when it comes to an NES game? A lot of people tried a few things, it stuck to the wall. Some things fell very flat.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so the NES era, since I'm not as well versed and I really just don't have that strong of a collection, especially since I've like moved, I have like so few NES games. I think what the NES does right with like horror games, even if they're not necessarily scary, I feel like they have like good spooky or horror motifs. Think something that we perceive even like 30, 40 years ago in that time frame, not like super scary. Like I feel like I get Universal Monster vibes with some of like the scary or spooky sort of stuff. It's not like morbid, kind of like a lot of the games we think of with horror, but they're still like Halloweeny in spirit, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's
Castlevania.
And like goth or something like Castlevania.
Right. And I was going to say, even if you want to like look over at the Famicom and places like that, you have Sweet Home. If anybody's ever heard of that, that's available. But yeah, the big one I would mention is Castlevania. Oh wow, my screen's messed up. Let's just go all here we go. The big one I would say is definitely Castlevania, because it definitely nods to all of the Universal monsters. And
yes,
the first game, really solid platformer where you go through, you fight the monsters, you win. Reminds me almost of like, an adult Monster Squad where you got to beat the monsters, send them out of here. And then the second one was more of like an adventure game, but it still had that spooky kind of feel to it where you had to go through these different castles, these catacombs and everything. And at the end, you face Dracula. Good formula. And then Castlevania 3 comes along and just, Great stuff. Great stuff. Even with like paying homage to some of the Hammer films, like bringing Alucard in. So I thought that the Castlevania trilogy on NES really, really set some great groundwork for NES, I guess, horror, if you will.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I personally, Castlevania is not scary or disturbing, just broadly speaking, that I would consider it horror, where I feel like it's like a goth game. Like it's like goth vampire kid vibes. Um but there's nothing that's like I feel kind of torn on how to categorize it, but I do definitely think that would be, if we wanted to call it horror, that would be like peak NES horror in terms of being like a quality game with spooky theme and great music.
Yeah, fantastic music. And on top
like
of that,
organ like music.
We can even go this far. Some people might disagree with me and be like, "What the fuck are you talking about, man?" We could even talk about Metroid really quick, simply because that was based off of Alien.
Yes.
Now the big difference is, of course, Samus has a way to defend herself against all these things, but in the end, it's the same premise. Samus is stuck on this planet. She's having to take on these virtually invincible monsters, and nobody can hear you scream in space.
No, seriously, like
them versus her, and
that was a good call on that, because like for real, Metroid is like, honestly, like of all the NES games I've played, I felt really unsettled. I think like Castlevania, I don't feel unsettled, but Metroid is way more immersive, and like you just like hit the nail on the head. Yes, I would consider that NES horror.
Yeah, it has always seemed like it to me. I know that it doesn't really give that spooky vibe or anything because the music is way, way too cheerful. Even like when you get in some of the lower areas, it's still not exactly spooky or anything like that. But the premise is the big thing. Like you get to these Metroids and they're virtually indestructible beasts. Like they'll just latch on you and suck you dry like a vampire, just like that. That's the point of them. So I think Nintendo, even while still trying to be family friendly, really hit the nail on that. But I'm going to go in a direction where Nintendo was not trying to be family friendly at all and really hit the nail. And everybody knows what I'm about to talk about. You know what I'm going to bring up. Let's talk Eternal Darkness.
Oh my God, I love that game.
Oh my Christ. A game that like really pushed the boundaries. Like when I first played that, never did I think that'd be the kind of thing you'd see on a Nintendo console, exclusively on a Nintendo console. A game that if somebody has not played it, first off, why the fuck are you at this podcast? Go play that game instead and then come back to us. Second, wow. A game that messes with the player while it's going on to where you start hearing whispers in your ear. You start to hear like little strange things going on all around you. All of a sudden your character's head pops off and blood goes everywhere.
It's like called gaslighting the video game. That's what it is. It's so awesome.
Now I can't remember the actual story at all. Really, I just know like something happened to her uncle.
I haven't played it in a very long time, but it's kind of like Lovecraftian. Let me like to make it really simple. And you basically go through the different eras to like gain more spells and like learn about like this family history based upon this cursed book. So you go through like a lot of different like ancient old times. So there's like a medieval kind of level. There's kind of like an archaeological level where it feels kind of like Egyptian mummy tomb hunting kind of stuff. There's one where it's kind of like what is it called? Like kind of like in like a monastery or something. I haven't played this in a very long time, so I could be very wrong with what I'm saying. To a degree with what I'm saying, but you go through like very interesting historical but yet kind of spooky eras of unsettling times. And experience a story of like one of the ancestors of the people that like own this mansion that you're exploring in between as like a modern day person.
Right. Okay.
And there's like curses and all these spooky things. Yeah.
And the background music when you're going through the mansion, I always thought was some of the spookiest stuff that's ever been put on a disc. I mean, I've tried Silent Hill games and everything else, but that music is so incredibly unsettling. And for anybody who's wondering, some fun facts about this: developed by Silicon Knights, one of their last few projects before they really went off the rails. I think they started on this right after they had the court battle over Blood Omen and lost. And Dennis Dyack actually did something good without stealing things. Imagine.
What? No way.
And we don't have
Yeah.
to say allegedly or I think. He actually lost in court for stealing things.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it's like the story goes like he did this and then somehow got Konami and Kojima to greenlight him remaking MGS1 on the GameCube, which will be locked there forever. It sucks. It can't get that any collection because that's a really good version of MGS1. Twin Snakes. Then he did Two Human, right?
I
There's
think
Two
so.
Human, then X-Men Destiny, and then people are
Mhm.
like, wow, these games are really terrible. It's like, oh yeah, it's because we stole the Unreal Engine and we didn't know how to use it. So we told, hey, Unreal, your engine's broken. It's like, well, you didn't pay for it. Go to court. All right, destroy all these copies of these games.
Not
that
only
never actually happened, but it's made a point to that Xbox now, like if you want Two Human, it's free on Xbox. You just
not
gotta
only
link it to your
that,
account.
not only did they use it without any sort of payment or anything like that, I think they also altered the code.
Yeah.
And when you're using one of those engines, you are not allowed to alter the code any bit at all, not an iota. You are allowed to build off of it, nothing more. So yeah, that was a big disaster. But enough of Dennis Dyack. That was probably one of the more solid games that came from Nintendo, because they don't have that big of a history when it comes to horror. And around that time, after they got away from the Nintendo and Super Nintendo era, it wasn't good times for them when it came to that. Because Castlevania 64.
Oh
Go
no,
ahead.
that's so bad. No.
Go ahead before I break your
That's
heart.
on my
No,
potential
no.
list of games to play for this month, because on my streaming I have all Castlevania games for October. I just finished Lords of Shadow. I tried a Maria run in Symphony of the Night that kind of crashed and burned at the end, but that was on my list. I was like, wait, do I do Lords of Shadow 2 or Castlevania on 64?
Good luck
So
with
I've never
Lords of
played it
Shadow 2.
before.
It's so bad.
Okay, so
Really?
kind of like this is me extending horror under like the umbrella and like speaking of Nintendo. And like conceptually, like with like how you brought up Metroid earlier, Patrick, Pikmin. I've had like legitimate like terrors and like extreme sadness and grief that I feel playing horror games as I do with Pikmin.
Really?
Interesting.
Yes. No, it's like so sad. Like, first off, you get stranded in space. You got 30 days before you run out of your survival mechanisms and breathing apparatuses. It's horrifying. If you get a game over in Pikmin 1, Olimar kind of like dies and becomes like a Pikmin, and it's like super ominous with how they end the game if you reach a game over and you don't like get past their 30 days with the number of ship parts.
Oh,
So
you're
it's
right.
super grim and effed up. Think about it like that. But also, too, those fucking Bulbarbs and other monsters are so scary. Like, they're terrifying. Like, you get emotionally attached to your little Pikmin army. And, like, of course, yes, there's multiple of them, and they are meant to be disposable to an extent. But the little ghosts, and, like, when you get to, like, the deep, dark depths of, like, the caves and stuff, it's super fucking scary. And I played this as an adult for the first time. So, like, it's not me being a kid having nightmares playing this. It's me as, like, a 20-year-old playing these games for the first time being like, what? What? Oh my god, this is horrifying. And I was, like, emotionally distressed by this game. Like, all of them.
You know, you make a good point. You do. Because, yes, Olimar is stranded on this planet. He's got to get everything together before he dies. And the big thing with that is, like, in Pikmin, you're building an army that's supposed to help you, put the ship back together. But at the same time, the other big part of Pikmin, because they say it's a strategy game, it is, but what are you strategizing? War, motherfucker. That's what you're strategizing. So you're going around just like taking bitches out left and right on there. Those things, like she's talking about, you have to kill them. There's things that breathe fire. There's things that spit rocks and try to crush your Pikmin. Like, you were constantly
distorted
at war.
creatures and plants that exist IRL that like they fictionalized into like very scary things that if I played this as a child, I would have had nightmares. And I'm not joking. I'm like not trying to be funny. I'm being serious when I say
No,
this.
I
It's
get it.
super
I get it.
grim and fucked up, and I love it. That's why like even though as an adult, like if I can tell you guys like my top 5 Nintendo like series, that's in my top 5, like hands down. Like despite like nostalgia factor aside, I played it as a young adult, and I was like, bro, why did I not have a GameCube as a kid? So. Mm-hmm. I think I think it covers under the spooky, sad, depressing umbrella.
Now, I know that Miyamoto has gone on record to say that he got the idea for the game when he was tending to his garden one day, and that's how they sold it.
Of course he did.
That's bullshit. He later admitted that that's not true, and you could probably see that's not true. Whose fucking garden is a war zone where all this shit's dying everywhere? Seriously.
And like what's like the snargle? There's like a really like they have like terrible names too. Like they're great names for like all the creatures, but like it's so scary. I don't know. It's deceivingly cute is what I'm getting at.
I'll give you scary. Has anybody gotten to the end of Pikmin 3?
I played it.
No.
That was the reason why I bought a Wii U. Okay.
Okay.
That was the
If
reason
you
why
get to the end of
bought a Wii U.
Pikmin 3, there is this ominous blob that starts just going down the very end of the map and just consuming anything in its wake. And there isn't a whole lot you could do to stop this thing. You're just trying desperately to get
Run!
away.
Indiana Jones it.
Oh my god, it's so terrifying because the entire time it's coming at you, there is this really unsettling music that plays. It goes from being a happy, friendly game to, oh, what the fuck, in a hurry.
Mhm.
It is probably the wildest experience in Pikmin you'll ever have because it's such a shift. It's like, I don't know. It's like in the movie Frozen where you think the one dude is pretty cool and then he just like turns around as a complete shit to the character and turns out to be a villain.
Mhm.
It's that kind of sudden slap out of nowhere.
You know, I don't want to. I feel like I'm the horror authority here, but I don't want to interrupt anyone. But like, I have like another like spooky thing I could bring up. But like, if anyone else wants to speak, like, I'll hold my tongue for a moment.
Johnny, you got anything?
No, I mean you can go ahead there. I don't have
Okay.
anything on mind. I'm actually just bringing up other horror franchises in my head right now. The only one I can think of like to talk about is the one I have experiences with the Star of the Dark Pictures anthology and like Until Dawn.
Oh,
And those,
Oh,
like,
that's a whole episode by itself. That's a whole episode by itself. We cannot talk about it right now because I won't shut up. Okay.
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 Okay. So like that's pocket. I just like I feel like especially you, Johnny. I feel like this is like out of your element, but I want to make sure you have a chance to speak before I go blah, 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 on repeat. So
Okay.
that's
No
all I'm
worries,
trying
no
to
worries.
like give you an opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um. So okay. So I realized as a kid. Like when I became like a teenager to a young adult, I realized that the reason why I'm like effed up as an adult, like I have a very like dark like interest in horror and things. So my dad growing up literally raised me on Universal monster movies, and me being like my core gaming era as a child was like N64. And I've said this before, like Banjo-Kazooie and Majora's Mask is like literally my life as a child. Okay. And they're both like super ominous and creepy weird games, right?
Mhm.
However, my dad was really into like PC games when I was a kid, and we had like some really weird and bizarre stuff. Like straight up like horror kind of game. Not a lot like point and click adventure kind of stuff, but We had like a Mummy game that's like based off of the Universal Mummy franchise and like other kind of stuff like that. Or there's a lot of mysticism, if that's a good way to describe it. It's very like unsettling or creepy. But if you guys like go on Good Old Games, I think it might be on Steam. If you want to play a game that I don't think either you would ever just pick up on your own accord, but it's like intense and kind of upsetting. Like I feel like horror for me, or like in the umbrella, is stuff that's like disturbing or stressful in that manner. Um, there's like a mid 90s PC game called Titanic, like Adventure Through Time. It's a weird point and click, like boop boop boop. You like use your arrows to walk across the map, but obviously being like knowing what happens with the Titanic with the ship sinking, the whole game progresses where like you get to like a certain point in the story after you do interactions and whatnot, and there's multiple endings to this game. And you're supposed to try and change the history of time, but you know the Titanic is going to sink. And there's not a point until like the very finale of the game that the clock ticks in real time. Like you have an hour of real time before the game ends and the ship really sinks. And depending on the types of endings you get and all the weird people, especially there's like a lot of immigrants or, you know, foreign travels from England to going to the US, you have like a bunch of different options to prevent all the major wars coming post the Titanic sinking. And there's a bunch of, it's like a puzzle game, but it's also like really like morbid and like horrifying because you just know how big the tragedy is. And all the people, like there's a lot of really apprehensive people that'll just like straight up kill you, and like other cool things, that it's really fun and intense.
That sounds insane.
I searched for this. I searched for this on Steam. I saw the screenshots and I'm like, oh yeah, John Tron quickly talked about this on his Titanic episode. I remember this. Yeah.
No, but like it seems like a goofy, weird game, which it is. But it's legitimately like the character writing and like the scenario writing is very good. And it's like very stressful and upsetting at the same time, but in a good way that it's fun.
That sounds intense. I have to check that out.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's just like obviously knowing the course of history that the ship's gonna sink. But it's actually very challenging, and it's not impossible to beat the game. But you're gonna play it probably a couple of times to try to get different endings and figure out how to get like the penultimate ending to like solve everything. But that is like really intense. And like when the ship starts sinking and it's like, oh my God. It's like so stressful.
Yeah. I was actually taking a look at the search results. I was like, wait a minute. Now I'm thinking about like horror PC games. I was like, wait, does Steam have Phantasmagoria? And they do.
Oh
yeah.
And the second one, the Puzzle Flesh.
Bad. They're so good that they're bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure in the next episode we'll talk about some point-and-click games, especially one that made its way to the Sony PlayStation. Maybe you guys have heard of this this little game called Clock Tower that came over here.
Yeah, that's getting a remake right on the Switch.
I think we might talk about that next time.
Yeah.
And I say
like,
next time because
so
Liz
much.
needs time.
Yeah.
Guys, I just like talk about horror games all day. I mean, we still got some time, but like these are in-depth moments. Okay, these are in-depth moments.
There's one series I really want to get into because I watched the movie for our old podcast on Game Days Were Good. We had to watch video game movies. That's Silent Hill.
Ooh.
I haven't like played a Silent Hill game, but I've seen them from afar. I'm like,
John,
this could be pretty good.
What are you doing with your life?
I have one statement to make. I have one angry statement to make about that Silent Hill movie.
Go right ahead. Oh,
Okay.
I don't care about the movies, but
yeah,
continue.
Oh no, the games are fine. I didn't understand them as a teenager because I was stupid, so I hated them. But that's because I was a stupid teenager. But the movie, okay, the movie, like somebody like smoked a ton of crack and decided to put it in Silent Hill, West Virginia, and then someone born and raised here, I hope I'm raising my voice enough so you can hear me, someone born and raised here asked me, where is Silent Hill, West Virginia?
Shut up! Stop! Oh my god, stop.
And I had to look at her, and I was like, "You're fucking kidding me right now, right?"
Dude.
Holy
Okay.
shit!
Okay. I do have to say, like, I know we like did our Resident Evil talk, but okay, I'm gonna die on this hill. But like the latest Resident Evil, like the reimagined reboot, like we're forgetting about the Mila Jovovich, whatever her name is. I don't care for those movies. I think they're boring. They're not good. I have no interest. But the
Fair.
new one that they came out with, mind blown. They did such a good job, and I feel like people are hating on it too hard. However, I have the angle, like, I want to make movies and video games, and I'm so deeply invested with movies and games, and also the movie game crossovers, like Supermassive Games, like Johnny, was talking about. I'm so deep in these things, and it's like, that was like the best sort of film, like game to film adaptation that I've seen in a very long time. Like Mario movie and like Sonic movies aside, which are great in their own way, for like a serious subject game movie, that Resident Evil movie that came out in like the last like maybe like 2 years or so was phenomenal for what it was. It was great, and I really hope they make another one. I really want a sequel game with Nemesis. That'd be sick.
Was that the Welcome to Raccoon City?
Yeah, I think so. It's the live
Is that
action,
like-
not like
okay,
the
okay, yeah,
animation
yeah.
ones.
Yeah, I don't think
But-
I got around to watching that one.
don't think I saw
watched
that
like
one
the
either.
first 3 Mila Jovovich ones.
No. It's really worth watching. I think they take the best parts from 1 and 2, and I think they really like don't think too deep. Obviously, it's so hard to cram so much content from 2 games into 1 movie. But I feel like the way that they wrote the characters different from the games was done quite well. That made for an entertaining and fun movie. And I felt like it was faithful enough to the messages and the stories of 1 and 2 that it turned out really well. And people are just picky, and it's the internet and stupid. And it's like, bro, like, you go try to write a movie. You do it better. It's not gonna happen, okay? So for considering all those factors being like a studio film movie, combining 2 games into 1, they did great.
Well,
Back on the Silent Hill though. Is that,
Yes,
I guess,
yes.
I've seen the games from afar, played a little bit of 1, didn't get in too far because it was just like, I was at a friend's house, picked it up, played it. It was like, okay, this is kind of cool. But like the series, I was always intrigued by it. And then I watched the movie, and I'm like,
No.
this is really good. No, I like Silent Hill. The movie is really good. Like, it's very creepy. Like, and I don't know how it's just I love how she's in Silent Hill, and then when like the siren goes, and like it goes from like the gray, cloudy, ash-filled area, and then like it fades to black, and then it fades back in, and it's just like rusty, blood-soaked, and just it was really good.
Okay.
It was a
I'm
very
glad you
cool
like
thing.
it.
The one thing that really creeped me out though was like how they killed off I can't remember the character's name, but she was the cop. How they killed her off. That legitimately freaked me out.
Sybil.
Like, ugh.
Sybil is also, oh my gosh. Okay, so in Silent Hill 1, there's like an alternative way to like do the Sybil the boss fight, and it's like so cool. I don't want to spoil it if you play the game ever, which the 1 is such a classic. It's so cool. Like, thinking like it's a PS1 game and you can totally like divert and change a boss fight. It gives me like Metal Gear Solid vibes with how you could like change weird things in the game. Like, it's kind of cool. I don't want to spoil it because I would strongly recommend playing the first Silent Hill. It's awesome. Silent Hill 2 is like good, but it's kind of like the Resident Evil 4 of Silent Hill, where it's really fucking annoying. So it's not bad. I don't want to dunk on it being a bad. It's not a bad game. It's far from bad. But I'm just so tired of it, and it's not the best one. If like I'm gonna twirl my mustache and drink my tea, everyone. Silent Hill 2 and Resident Evil 4 are not the best games in those series.
I'm not the most versed in Silent Hill, but I'll agree with you when it comes to Resident Evil.
Also, another common theme, the odd-numbered Silent Hill games are the better games too.
I wish I knew more to agree with you or disagree with you on the Silent Hill part,
Okay.
but the
Okay,
Resident Evil
so-
ones, I'm still saying, like, if you're going classic, it's got to be RE2. I know you're saying 3, but it's gotta be RE2.
No,
It's
no,
just
2
gotta.
is good. 2 is good. I'm not saying it's bad or crappy. Actually, 2 is phenomenal because like 1 is awesome that it's condensed in the mansion, but it's so limited, but they greatly expanded the game, and 3 just rode the back off of 2, refining it better, in my opinion.
I can agree
So
with
that's
that.
why 3 is so good.
Yeah, I can agree with
Yeah.
that. Especially, I also think adding a constant, like from basically the very beginning, a constant threat really raised the scales. So you did a good job with that too. Um,
Yeah.
if you want to talk about more like modern Resident Evil, 8, 8 all day, 8 all week. Holy fuck, 8! It's so good. It's so good. But I'm
Okay,
sorry, I'll
okay.
pass it on.
Okay, hold on. Can we keep talking about Silent Hill because it's so fun?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
We also talk about the fact that we were robbed of a probably good Silent Hill from Kojima with Norman Reedus.
Oh, I
Silent
like
Hills.
you guys. I like literally cried the day they announced that they weren't making it. I'm like not joking, literally not joking. I was
Yeah.
like my
Yeah.
heart felt a stab wound in it, and it was like really, especially after all of the PT hype. It was such a fucking miserable moment.
Yeah.
I can't even describe. Like, I feel like. Let me define my personality. 7th grade, Silent Hill. That was my personality. Like, this series was so influential in, like, also branching me further into other horror games that were not necessarily, like, the big mainstream games like Silent Hill or Resident Evil might be. But, like, oh my god. Like, I'm, like, shocked that you haven't... Okay, Johnny, like... Okay, so I'm gonna give you an order to play these, and I really hope you do play them sometime. Play Silent Hill 1. If you don't want to play like a janky PS1 game, you could play Shattered Memories, which is a janky Wii game. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I think is a janky PS2.
But like,
I think they got ported
they also
somewhere.
ported on the PS2, but it was more popular. Like it was like first on the Wii, later ported.
Yeah.
Fragile Memories is really, really cool as a reimagining, and I feel like there's some people that really don't like it, but I think it does justice to the series. It's a-okay. I like greenlight it. So do one of those 2, then play 3, okay? Because 3 is directly related to 1. Then play 2, because that's like the penultimate ooh la la, ooh ha hoo hoo everyone freaks out about. It's not a bad game. It's just overrated, and I'm just like so tired of it. It's not the best one. Then play 2, and then you can optionally play the other games or the spin-off games.
Yeah.
That's the order I would recommend playing in.
Yeah.
So it's just like his homework?
So I was saying play 2 on Nintendo 64. I have it. My only problem is I need to find the original jumper pack. I need to take my expansion pack out of my 64 and put the original on there because it does this weird thing. If you have the expansion pack, it flips between resolutions when you go to your menu or when you go into a door transition, and that freaks out HDMI cables, or like if it's on a capture device, it'll just lose signal. So I like legitimately can't play
Holy
RE2
fuck, really?
on Nintendo 64 on my RE2. Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. Like Derek Alexander Stop
Whoa.
Skeletons Fighting has a whole video on that. Yeah, like you have to have the original jumper pack in there to just keep everything at a consistent resolution,
I
so it
didn't
doesn't
know
like flip
that.
between them. Yeah,
That's a big problem
That's
because I
so
don't think I kept
weird.
any of my originals.
well, and
Oh,
that's
fuck.
the thing, because you wouldn't think something like that would be a big deal because you're just running it through AV cables on a CRT.
Yeah, why
so
would
you
you?
don't notice that.
Oh, that's really bad. Okay. Wow.
You know, I haven't played it on the N64. I don't know if I want to though.
I think the only thing it has versus the PS2 version is the randomizer. I want to say that's the only difference.
I suppose that since we're giving out homework for next episode, I'm going to give out a really bad assignment on my end for everybody.
Oh wait, Patrick, you play so many games. You could totally like speed run through like all the games we spoke about tonight.
What games am I supposed to be speedrunning? Wait, what? What?
Okay, you and Johnny are supposed to play Silent Hill, like Resident Evil games you haven't played, and then Silent Hill 1, 3, 2, and then maybe 4 or Homecoming. Homecoming is good. Shut
All
up.
that by the time
Downpour
of
is
next
okay.
episode?
It's still fun,
What?
but it's not the best. Okay,
Wow.
cool.
Okay,
We have this established.
I could probably start tearing through all of this by the end of the year, but not by next
Man.
episode. That's
What?
crazy.
Okay, Patrick. Okay, Patrick. Do one of them. Do one of them. Don't cheat though. No cheating. Unless you're like really stuck and it becomes not fun. Then you can cheat a little bit.
No, we follow the
'Cause they're
Mike
puzzle
Matei rule
games.
here.
They're puzzle games. You can adjust the combat level and the puzzle level. At least do them both on medium.
Oh,
Okay.
Can you? Huh. I mean,
Yes, you can adjust how smart you want to be and
What?
how actiony you want to be.
I think
It's
it's
actually
okay
really
to
nice.
like look up a guide if you need a little bit of help because Get the Power, Nintendo Power.
Like hold your hand a little bit.
Yeah.
yeah.
But like medium's fine. However, you play like the puzzles on like super extremely hard. There's so much like I don't like the super extremely hard versions aside from like memorizing answers and knowing how to like do the puzzles in advance. When you have it on super hard, I feel like there's a lot of external knowledge that goes beyond finding clues in the game to figure out a puzzle. And I don't like that. But medium is like it's a good vibe.
Okay. Well, now I've got my homework that I'm going to pass out to everybody until next for the next episode because I don't know, I've got a mean streak in me tonight. Everybody, in one way or another, you could pick your poison. I'm fine with it. You have to play Nightmare Creatures. Be it on
Yes.
PlayStation or
Yes.
N64. I think that game is kind of fucking terrible, but it's got charm. So if
But
we,
like a lot of
It's
horror
got a
games
creep
are.
factor to it. and
it
it's-
does. It truly
You're
I
right.
does.
haven't played it in a while. I heard the sequel not so great, but
No, I'm not even
Nightmare
touching
Creatures
that.
1.
No, the fuck all that. Okay, no. We're just doing the first Nightmare Creatures. You can choose PlayStation or N64. I'm fairly certain the N64 version is ass compared to the PlayStation version. Just heads up. But either one, I mean, I'm gonna play it too. Just because I've forgotten the pain and I need it again. It's like watching all of the Nightmare films because you've forgotten them all. After you get past the first few, you're like, oh, God. But you keep going.
Oof. That hurts.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up because we are hitting the 1 hour mark on this one. And we have so much more we're going to talk about when it comes to digital horror this month. It's spooky month, October. And we are going to continue the conversation next time and have even more to talk about because, like I said, we haven't mentioned even half the stuff we should be talking about.
Bro, it's not even half. Like, there's a fraction of the piece of pie. Fraction.
Yeah.
Is it a ghost
I
pie?
got a wiki article. I got a
Wait,
wiki
can
article
I
here
leave you guys
of
on
like
another note, like really quickly?
Yes.
The Cave. Go play The Cave. The Cave.
What system is it
Not
on?
horror. It was like a PS360 era. Definitely, you can get it on PC.
Okay.
Cause, here, I can't remember the guy's name. He's like a super duper cool guy. I forgot his name. The people that made this game. They're like, okay, Ron Gilbert. Okay.
Never heard of him.
that sounds familiar.
Okay, well, it's a whole thing. Play The Cave. No, honestly, you guys can probably play it within a couple of and it's also multiplayer. Play with your waifus. Okay? You get trapped in a cave and you have 3 characters. to solve puzzles, and there's different stories, and they're all really morbid stories. And it's just like playing an old school point and click action adventure kind of game. And like the storylines are kind of disturbing, but also amazing, and it highlights how terrible of a human being each set of characters is. And it's like it's really good, and it's multiplayer co-op campus. Anyone? Excuse me?
I hear that that's a show.
No way. What? Honestly, I would think that would be very in theme. It's not like directly horror, but it's very like fucked up in a good way. Play The Cave. I don't think it's going to be expensive these days.
Okay.
I would definitely recommend playing The Cave as your homework between now and then, the next episode.
I will do my best to play The Cave because now I am intrigued. And
No,
you know
no, it's good. It's good.
well,
It's
I
like
have to play it and beat it so I can
it's
get
like-
past. Where am I at now? 62 games completed. I have to keep going.
are you gonna get to 100?
That's my goal. That's my goal.
Oh,
My goal is 100.
I'm like,
Mhm.
my goal is 5, which means I need to play like one more game. But I'm gonna be too busy between now and year-end, you guys.
I think
So-
I should go ahead and let everyone know the reason why I am trying so desperately to get to 100 games is because next year, well, you know, ResetPress, I think we're going to go ahead and turn the Co-op Campus Discord into ResetPress so we can put everything in there and have everything represented. But I think this is going to be the last year I personally participate because got to be a dad. So I'm going out with a bang. I'm doing it.
Also, hold on, have Dana look up howtobeamom.com on YouTube. It's really good parenting advice.
I feel like
Look it up.
Is it parody and it's really not good advice?
Well, it's excellent. What are you talking about? Here, I'll send you a link, and you guys, you need
There
to
you go.
watch it when you're done if she's awake.
Okay.
It's like, you know, I was talking with my friends that I'm visiting, and I'm like, this is like the best YouTube channel that is so underrated. All right, this is your homework. You need to report back to me in 2 weeks.
I will report back to you. I will do that. And we're going to end this episode because we've got some things to bring in for the next time. So everyone, good night, sleep tight. Don't let the scissor man bite. Have a good one. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of The Reset Button. If you like the podcast, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you'll be updated whenever there's a new episode or various clips that we produce. We appreciate all your support.